It's been a long time since I've given you an update video on the layout. It is middle of June right now. This spring and early summer, I don't know if it's summer yet, late spring I guess, has been excessively wet, even for the Northwest, where basically since April, every weekend's been rainy. Haven't really had a chance to come out and take care of things, but had a little bit of a break today, so I'm here. And let's just do a little rundown of some stuff. So you can see here's the layout, same as it was last time I gave you an update. Trains are running okay on the outer loop. The inner loop is having continuity issues. The inner track or the inner loop really hasn't had any maintenance or work done on it for basically almost since the thing was built 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, something like that. I have the connector here and here, which just like the outer loop means the furthest points for conductivity are there, or continuity, whatever the right word is, and back there. But man, this area right through here, basically where this town is, I keep getting really bad connection. Like the train's not moving. If I give it power and like jiggle the tracks, it'll go until the train rolls over a certain spot and like the track settles, then it goes off again. Frustrating, very frustrating. I almost never run the inner loop because to do it requires more time for me to put a train on the inner track, then put a train on the outer track. And with my girls, they just do not give me that free time. If I'm lucky, I can get 3 minutes to back a train out and get it on the outer loop and have it go in a circle, and that's all I'm allowed to do, which is why the outer loop runs and it's my main focus. I still want to fix and make sure the inner loop works, but right now, I just don't have the time, and it's going to take a lot of effort for me to maintenance that, which that's time I don't have. I guess that brings me to the topic of rail clamps. So early on, you heard me griping and moaning about rail clamps and how it's not worth it, blah, 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 blah. Maybe I should take back what I said. Yeah, partially, at least, right? So a few things. I installed rail clamps on the outer loop, and it's running perfectly great. So you could say, well, see, Scott, there you go. That proves it works. But that also means I maintenanced that loop. I don't know, when was that video? 6, 8 months ago? I don't know when it was. Maybe it was last year. It was last year, actually. It was July of last year, so almost a year ago, I did the outer loop. Versus this inner loop really hasn't seen a lot of maintenance, especially this lower portion. Hasn't really been touched much over the last 3 years since I built this thing. So perhaps if I took it all apart and put it back together again like I did the outer loop, it would work fine. So who knows? That said, I found these, let me get where the train isn't. I found these type of rail clamps at RLD Hobbies, and I think they average out to like $1. It might be $1.50, which I could stomach. When you're talking $3, $5 for a rail clamp, I'm like, LOL, no. That's as much as track at that point. So, anyway. I like these. I'm not going to say they're the best or they're perfect. I have had 2 of them actually break on me, like the metal actually fractured, telling me those aren't the greatest quality metal. But the reality is out of 150, 2 have broken. All right, that's not that bad. Other than that, one thing I'm kind of not angry about, but I wish I had done differently is the gravel ballast. So one thing I've noticed on my layout is originally it was all gravel, like a good 2 to 3 inches of gravel. So one mistake, I didn't put down landscape tarp. Should have done that. Just if you're building a layout and you're going to do it, I would say at least under the track, at the very least under the track, put landscape fabric to help block weeds and stuff. Number 2 was, well, not number 2, but I put gravel down, but I don't know what's going on, but look at that. It's like mostly dirt now. Like even though it was gravel, it's somehow the dirt is like being pushed up past the gravel. And I don't know why or how. I mean, earthworms, bugs, I don't know. I'm not an expert in this kind of thing. I didn't anticipate that. So what I think the problem was, this all started when I was redoing the track, and I think I kicked up a lot of extra dirt. So, man, I tell you what, at this stage, I don't have the time to do it, but what I kind of want to do is just pick up all the track. I want to get a young kid in here to help me out and just scoop off the top like 3 inches of everything off the top of this thing. I want to hire contract a rock company to drop off like 2 or 3 square yards of 3/8 inch minus crushed rock and just the whole thing, just like I did at the beginning. But again, I think my problem is I've done a lot of digging up since then, which kicked up this loose dirt, and it's causing problems. You could go a step further and do what a lot of guys do that are going extreme, which is like, okay, do like a paved road bed or a pressure treated road bed or even concrete. I'm really not, I don't want to go that far. I really don't. I'd rather keep it a little more simple. I think if I have the time in the future, probably won't be this summer, I'd like to take the top layer off and throw down gravel after I put down some landscape fabric. So take the top layer off, take the trains off, take the track off, take the buildings off. It's a lot of work. It'll be a lot of work, but I already know the layout. I already have the wiring set up. All I need to do is basically scrape the rock off, throw down landscape fabric, and then put 2 to 3 inches of gravel on top of it, with the note that I'm going to minimize it up here, or I might take more off of here, because you guys know about my issue with the grade, how that's the tall part and this is the low part. So this I can easily go 3 to 4 inches, maybe 6 inches higher. Up here I'd rather not go any higher, but that means I'm going to have to dig out the top layer lower so it doesn't raise this when I add all that extra stuff. All right, so enough about me griping about my layout deteriorating. The other thing is so I think you guys have seen this. I did run that locomotive. I think I got it about a year ago. It hasn't got a lot of time to run, but it's a beautiful, basically like new train. Chassis system GP7. Looks phenomenal. And then there was an estate sale where they had some of these, I call them candy cars, specifically the Reese's. Like a lot of people nowadays, everyone's a huge fan of Reese's and Mountain Dew and all that. I've been that way since the 80s. So I didn't actually know they made a Reese's car. I was into G-Scale when I was younger. For about 15 years there, I kind of took a break when Aristo was really popular, so I wasn't really aware of a lot of Aristo stuff. And only recently I found out, oh, they made a Reese's car. So they had these 3, the Reese's, the Kisses gondola, and the York car, all for sale. And I nabbed them, and I love how they look. They look so cool. So I wish this were running, but as I said, my inner track, I'm having issues with it working, and so I got all this set up to run in the circle, and it refused to work. So at least you guys can see the train. It does exist. Hasn't really gotten to run much. Some other updates. I got this Pola woodworking factory, shed, mill barn, mill shed, whatever, at a really good price, in box, so I got to put it together. I don't have any of the equipment in there yet. That's on my to-do list, but I got the building up. It has lighting in there, so it kicks on at night. My intent was always to have this upper area be more of like a log area, so that's why you have the fake logs lying around, and I could just barely get this thing to fit in here. So it's nice. It's nice to have a nice not real, but a Pola building instead of one of my 3D printed things, which, no shade on it. I think these look pretty good, but I mean, they're not a pre-manufactured high-level quality product. I picked up a few other buildings. This little station, warehouse slash passenger station. I got this warehouse here, and I got that little warehouse in the back. All of those I got from a local guy who, it was his estate, and got them for a decent price, which is nice. I'm able to fill out the layout a little bit, fill in some dead spots with some buildings, you know, make it look a little more realistic, a little more dense. So even though I just spent the last few minutes complaining about all the work this railroad's going to take and how it doesn't work the way I want to, the reality is I'm happy with the results. It might not be perfect. but I've come a long way. And the purpose of these videos is to hopefully educate somebody else on the things I may have done differently had I been able to go back 3 years ago and tell myself at the beginning, dude, do this, and you'll save yourself a lot of effort in the long run. So hopefully that helps somebody else. You can see my younger daughter specifically loves to play and interact with this layout. She loves chasing the small trains around. Her walking on the tracks is probably part of the reason why I don't have good continuity in them, but that's what she loves to do. She also likes to help Dad out by watering the plants and picking weeds, so I'm glad she enjoys it so much. To further get them involved in railroading and trains in general, I take them up to this town of Skycomish, Washington, where they have a 7.5-inch little ride-upon railroad. You can see a live steam shay here that we got to ride. The whole thing's free. They ask for donations, but it's a free thing to do. It's a lot of fun. My girls love it a lot, especially if you go up. I think summer, they're open from May through September, maybe October. But they usually have a couple different trains to ride. So you saw Shay. There's your classic GE up front. You can see both my daughters here. My older one's autistic, and she absolutely loves going through the trestles and tunnels. So it's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I can keep doing this for them and giving them something to look forward to.